I want to talk about perhaps the mixed messages from the United States. Now, in terms of Biden and Trump, President Biden said this after the Assad regime toppled over the weekend. Quote, "We're clear-eyed about the fact that ISIS will try to take advantage of any vacuum to reestablish its capabilities and to create a safe haven. We will not let that happen." And Donald Trump posted this on social media: "This is not our fight." So what are your thoughts on the different tones between the current president, who's only in office for a couple more weeks, and President-elect Donald Trump?
Well, in the case of the Biden administration, the focus on Islamic State, on ISIS, is actually, it's expected, it's anticipated. The U.S. has around 900 troops in eastern Syria. They've been there for several years. There is a U.S. commitment to combating ISIS. There have been ongoing operations to stop the resurgence of ISIS from the inner parts of the Syrian desert. And so the Biden administration's choice to emphasize the issue of ISIS, which is an issue that the region cares about, that is likely to matter in the future of Syria, that's not really a surprise, given the posture of the U.S. and the ongoing position that the U.S. has taken vis-a-vis the Syrian crisis. President-elect Trump's position on social media is also not too surprising, given that the way the downfall of Assad was playing out suggested there was really little action that the U.S. needed to take. I think his words suggesting that this was not our fight were meant to imply that the U.S. didn't need to take a role in the downfall of Assad. Now, the question of whether the U.S. takes a role in supporting or working with the new post-Assad government, I think that is an issue that President-elect Trump and his team will have to grapple with next year. There will be the issue of whether the U.S. withdraws from Syria, which Trump attempted to do in his first administration. There are thorny questions about U.S. relations with Turkey, which will now, President Erdogan in Turkey will now look for greater scope, greater freedom of action in dealing with the Kurdish situation along Turkey's southeastern border. That is another issue that Trump will have to grapple with. So the fall of Assad creates openings, creates opportunities, but also creates risks and policy problems that Trump will have to deal with as he puts together his Middle East policy in 2025.
So let's talk about that first issue then. Let's say Donald Trump withdraws troops from Syria. What happens then? Is there a vacuum then left in Syria?
Well, the most immediate results of that withdrawal will be to create space for Turkey to act against the Kurds. There is currently, while the attention has been on HTS's advance against Assad, the Kurdish position in the country's northeast has remained the same. If anything, it's grown a little bit. The Kurds have been able to take over new territory that had previously been controlled by Assad. Now, the Kurds control their part of Syria largely thanks to U.S. support, particularly U.S. air support. In the absence of U.S. support, they become much more vulnerable to Turkey, to Turkish-backed groups that are active in North Syria. It's an open secret that President Erdogan wants to expand military operations against the Kurds, create a cordon, essentially a buffer zone along the Turkish-Syrian border. That will become much easier to do in the event that the U.S. withdraws or backs away from supporting the Kurds. So that is a crucial question. If Trump decides to withdraw troops from Syria, it may create space for ISIS to return, but in more immediate terms, it will create complications for the Kurdish position in the northeast of the country.